Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second edition of the Horizon Europe Info Day of Cluster 1 on Health Research. I'm Henriette van Eyl, and I'm the head of unit of the Unit in Economic and Social Transitions in DG Research and Innovation. The purpose of today is to present the 2022 work program through dedicated sessions. I've been asked to host this opening session where my colleagues will provide you specific information on clinical studies and gender equality. Today will be long, but very important day for us all. The year 2022 is the second funding round of Horizon Europe in health research. The total budget available in 2022 is nearly 900 million euros. There's an opportunity to apply for 24 topics in 2022, and we will explain today, with your help, what are these topics. The funding is awarded through a competitive process. Most topics are single-stage evaluations. The deadline for applying is the 21st, 2022. 21st of April 2022. But there are also 7 topics that are two-stage. The deadline for the first short proposal is the 1st of February 2022. If your proposal gets through the first stage evaluations, then you will be invited to apply for the second stage. The deadline for the second stage is the 6th of September 2022. I encourage you to regularly visit the funding and tenders portal of Horizon Europe. There may be updates and changes in this information. So I hope that you could all watch the general presentation that was broadcasted earlier today. This gives you a lot of background information about what we're going to talk about today and the rest of the day. And this also allows us to spend more time together in today's Q&A sessions. I hope that you take this opportunity to learn more about our program and also to listen and share information about any questions that you have together with other participants. And so please post your questions in the dedicated rooms in Slido. You've seen the contact details for that. And also, if possible, please target and address your questions to the 24 topics that we're discussing today. Your questions on international cooperation, and I know there will be many, can be best put in the links to the topics that deal with international cooperation. All of them do, but some topics have a greater interest in that. And also these questions will be answered in Slido. So that is a lot of information for me, but I also would like to hear from you. And I would like to hear from you who is in the room today. And to do that, we have 3 short warm-up questions. And the first one is that relates to the fact that the program is open to everyone, open to anyone from the world. So that's why I would like to know from what continent, or which of the 7 continents in this world are you joining from? And we have a short Slido poll, so if you could see where you come from. Oh, I see the Europeans are there, but I also hope that that participants are coming in from North America and South America and Asia, as well as Africa. Maybe 1 or 2 from Antarctica. We even have projects there. I see most of you are coming in from Europe. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Yeah, and then we go continue. Okay, excellent. So 100% is based in Europe. Not yet. I'm getting an indication that we need to wait a little bit. Excellent. We have a few more, waiting for a few more participants to come in. That's good. We do the warm up now so that you're warmed up for Slido later, including myself. Rapidly, other colleagues are coming in, and I hope we're going to get a few more participants from North and South America or Asia or Africa. So the program is all topics are open to participants based anywhere across the world. And that is why it's so important to look at the information about international cooperation. Yeah, getting a signal.
Remind them to go on Slido, please.
Yeah, and you can go on Slido to reply to this question. Okay. Very good. So I already see that there's a lot of people have applied. So the program is also open to many types of organizations, to universities, to companies, to public organizations. We have many participations from international organizations, but also from non-governmental organizations like and for example, foundations and patient organizations. So I would like to encourage you to quickly identify yourself, or maybe you prefer not to tell me or to tell us. So that's also fine. Yeah? So the objective is also with all these programs to stimulate and to support partnering between different types of organizations, and you see that reflected in the topics as well. So again, I see a lot of diversity in who is around the table. I really like that. That's good. We will get some really good conversations later on and some good questions. Yeah, and then the final question before we go to the main topics of this opening session is, have you ever participated in a European funding program for research and innovation? And the first programs were FP4, FP5, FP6, Horizon 2020. And we are now doing the second call of Horizon Europe. So maybe some of you have already applied to the first calls of Horizon Europe, the 2021 calls. So again, I see some people have experience with the programs, maybe as Marie Curie, but also in the EIC or in the ERC part of the programs. But I also see that many of you are new to the program. So we will make sure that you will get the information that you need as a first-time applicant. And I will also let you know who you can contact to get more support. Yeah, so I see we now know who is in the room. Many Europeans, a huge diversity of types of organizations, and also many newcomers. And I really like to welcome you in our family. So after this introduction, I would like to move to two specific areas that that are important to all topics in this work program 2022 in health research. And these two specific areas are clinical studies and gender equality. So Monica and Laszlo, my colleagues who know everything about clinical studies, will now take over from me, and they will explain to you how to proceed with clinical studies and how we fund them, and how do you best include clinical studies in your application. So over to you, Laszlo and Monica, please.
Thank you very much. I trust this. I'm Monica Insini from ADEA, Health and Digital Executive Agencies, and with Laszlo, who I hope is online as well, or he's not, he will be very soon. We will talk now about this wonderful object, which is the template for a clinical study. Let me tell you that just upfront, that this is not one of the bureaucratic templates that we request with, that are felt like a burden. This template is actually a tool that supports applications in two ways. It supports you, applicants, because it will allow you to show in details how robust, credible, prepared is your research in the clinical area, and it will help the evaluators to assess these three things I just said: preparedness, robustness, and all the details that need to convince of the excellence of your applications. This is particularly true when, as you know, in part B of the template, now the space is reduced to 45 pages. So again, approach this template as a tool for you to support your applications. So during this very relatively short question, so let's go into it. We will address the questions related to this template. There was a pre-recorded presentation that was posted on the event page. So we hope you looked at it, but then we are going to check if you did. And also on the web page of the event this morning, there is also the template itself, so you can actually already see what it is all about. Next slide, please. So as I said, I hope you are all connected via Slido, because we are now testing your if you did your homework, and asking you two very simple questions. That is, if you watched the pre-recorded presentation and if you are familiar with the clinical study templates. So again, let's launch the polls. And let's see how you're doing. As I said, there is great material posted already. It's this pre-recorded presentation where a lot of details are addressed regarding the templates. You can always go back to it once we are over here. It does look like that yes, indeed, you could take advantage of having a look at it. Indeed, I mean, it's understandable that you are not completely familiar with it. And again, I insist in saying that it is very important that you really become familiar with it and you make it your own. You make it your own tool for applying to Horizon Europe funding when you do clinical studies research, of course, and you offer us that kind of research. So let's. It's almost stable, I would say. So it looks like that yes, some of you did see the presentation. So again, I invite you to do it. So the second question, if it's about if you are familiar with the template itself. Okay, again, still there is always quite a sizable percentage that have not seen it. Again, it's there, it's already there on the event page. And then anyway, you will see it attached to certain topics when you will apply. Certain topics do have the template attached to it if a clinical study is meant to be submitted. So let's see. Okay, so I hope that indeed with the few questions that we address today, and the material that is available, and of course the fact that you can always post questions later on, and we will of course answer them. So let's move on now, and I will let my colleague Laszlo Emle to go a little bit deeper and have a very, let's say, concise presentation about what the template is all about. So Laszlo, I hope you are online. Are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. So please, Laszlo, it's for you now. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, before I jump into the details, I just like to let you know that this information, what I'm going to give you in this live session, is legally not binding. Can we go to the next slide, please? And now into the real meat of this session. We've seen from the responses of the two poll questions that you could make use of these materials that we've uploaded into the event website, and you can also look at it from the previous Info Day session, which was recorded, and it's also available for you to look at. And really, the current session is really dedicated to questions and answers. And so I guess we would need to rely on those participants who have an extensive knowledge about the background of the clinical study template, as well as the template itself. Nevertheless, I think everyone online or watching the streaming will be benefiting from listening and watching this session. So in short, the clinical study template is the short form of a lengthy title of a document, which applicants need to submit if they intend to implement a clinical study under certain topics that we publish in our work program. Now, we all know that clinical studies are usually very complex scientific endeavors, and it imposes many challenges on everybody's involved throughout the entire life cycle of the clinical study. But these challenges have also direct implications on the clinical studies timelines and the resource needs. However, we know that there are good practices with which all these challenges can be overcome, but it requires an upfront investment in drawing up a meticulous plan which covers all stages of the clinical study, starting from its design until reporting on its results. And the keywords here that I would like to highlight is that the necessary intelligence and the resources that an applicant consortium must ensure to tackle all potential challenges. Through the information we request against this template, we would like to support two intertwined objectives. One is that we give a guidance to the applicants what needs to be really taken into account to propose a scientifically sound and operationally feasible clinical study. And on the other hand, we would like to give a tool to the expert evaluators who will have a structured set of information against which they can evaluate the overall proposal, specifically what the clinical study means in the overall project plan. The next slide, please. But what do we mean really by clinical studies in this framework? Unfortunately, there is no universally accepted definition that we could use to describe our all-encompassing approach. This is very important, that we would like to include everything which is in any way relation to a clinical study. So therefore, we've developed this definition, which allows us to bring in scope all types of clinical studies for which we request this structured set of information. So it may be a prospective or a retrospective endeavor, and it uses health data from individuals for the purpose of addressing scientific questions that are either related to the understanding, the prevention, diagnosis, monitoring of a treatment, of a disease, mental disorder, or physical condition. So everything in relation to health. And the definition applies to studying all types of health technologies. So it needs to be understood in the broad sense, and therefore it goes beyond medicinal products, medical devices, or in vitro diagnostic medical devices, and includes, for example, surgical interventions or health counseling and other forms of medical interventions. Next slide, please. And this is just a quick overview of how the clinical study template is structured. There are three main blocks where we request the applicants to provide us with information, and each of these main blocks are pretty much balanced in terms of the number of subsections where we specifically introduce the questions, the areas of concerns, the need of the expert evaluators to judge the scientific soundness and the operational feasibility of the proposals. And with this very short introduction, I would like to finish and then would give the floor to the audience to pose the questions that concerns them. And you have the opportunity to pose these questions through Slido. And Monica will moderate the Slido and we'll publish the questions. There are related to this session, because as you know, we have many more sessions throughout the day. So back to you, Monica.
Thank you, Laszlo. Thank you very much. So again, now we will try to address as many questions as possible. Time is a tyrant, so we will just try to go as fast as we can. And all the questions that cannot be answered will be answered later on. We will archive everything and we'll post them on the participant portal. So I would like, Laszlo, the first question that appears, that is what to pay attention when submitting, oops, oh, can you see? Okay. When submitting a proposal, including a clinical trial in healthcare research organization, what would be your general strong tips to responding to this question?
Yeah, my suggestion would be to read exactly what these template includes and what information we are requesting. We try to be very specific in giving the titles of the sections and the subsections. And for certain subsections, we've given some extra information, some guidance. So be very attentive to what we are asking and try to be as concise as possible, but as comprehensive as it need be, so that the expert evaluators who look at this information will have the appropriate understanding of what you are going to do in your project if you get funded. Really, we believe that the questions and the section titles are quite straightforward, and please address all of them if they are applicable to your particular study. And it will be the case that not all of these subsections are relevant for a particular study, because don't forget that we pharmaceutical developments are for certain aspects quite different from medical devices. And again, if you plan a surgical intervention to test in your study, again, there would be many parts of this clinical study template that will not be applicable, but please do complete each and every section. And if something is not applicable, then just simply state, this is not applicable for the reason of, and then explain. So be complete. This is my overall suggestion.
Thank you very much, Laszlo. I think there is an interesting question here that is probably very pertinent. Should the study protocol, I think, sorry, I highlighted the question, it's gone. Oh, oh, it's disappeared. Anyway, it was a question about what should be the status of the clinical trial template and if it should be submitted with the first stage. I suspect this question was taken off too fast, but
yeah. Anyhow, if you read the instruction on the template itself, we do not request the submission of the clinical study template for two-stage topics at stage 1. So this is only applicable at stage 2.
Excellent, thank you. I think I found it again. So let's go into this one, which is interesting one, which is the one that says, what are the exact instructions the evaluators receive when considering the information provided in the clinical study document while assessing a proposal?
Well, basically they receive an explanation of the template itself, just like you are giving this information. Nothing really in addition to what is already mentioned in the template itself. And we only give an extra information to the evaluators that which section should be linked to scoring the excellence part and which sections should be taken into account when they give the final scores for the implementation pillar of the evaluation. So there are two pillars that this template or the information included in the template is divided to the excellence and the implementation.
Great, thank you very much, Laszlo. There is another one that it's probably worth answering quickly is a registered unique identifier for the clinical study mandatory at proposal stage?
No, it's absolutely not mandatory, but it gives an indication of the status of the preparedness of the consortium applying for funding, that they are really up in terms of understanding the regulatory framework, what it takes to submit a clinical study protocol, and if they are at the stage that they have, advanced into concretely defining the scientific questions, and it can be already registered in some of these publicly available registries, then it's a good sign. And further down the stream, we can also follow up on the regulatory compliance of this clinical study, how it evolves in terms of the application process, the approval process, and quite importantly, when the clinical study finished and the results are there, making the concise results available to the general public, which is very important.
Great, thank you very much, Laszlo. I think there is an interesting one here that goes with reference to the preparedness status. Could you please clarify already sought for advice from regulators and health technologies assessment body? Could you comment on this?
Yes, and again, since this is a template which is used for all kinds of health technologies, these bodies, the relevance of seeking protocol assistance or scientific advice is different from a pharmaceutical product under development or a medical device. And this is why we are not that specific in imposing or giving the title to this subsection. The applicant should have a good understanding of what is available in terms of regulatory support, advice, guidances. And this is also a very important signal to the evaluators whether the applicant is knowledgeable about all these supports that are available from the regulators' side. So again, this is, the applicant needs to take it seriously in order to investigate, what supports are out there and what might be highly relevant for their projects. But it might well be the case that, for example, in a pragmatic trial, this is really not relevant, and it could be stated in the clinical study template that, for this type of study, we do not need this guidance, we do not need to seek protocol assistance, and therefore we are not giving any information against this subsection.
Thank you very much, Laszlo. I think I would like to highlight now a question that it's probably a bridge to the next session. It's an interesting question. To which extent should the gender dimension of the study be discussed in the template?
Well, exactly. I think this is more relevant to the next section. What is important is when the applicant describes the clinical study population, we also ask for justification why it's broad or why it's narrow, why these inclusion and exclusion criteria are defined, why they think it's relevant, and how they take into account the gender dimension. So, if you look into the template itself, the subsection about the description of the clinical study population is quite detailed. So I invite you to take a look at this, and if you think that this is very relevant for your project, that you give a very narrow inclusion and exclusion criteria, you also should be ready to justify why you structure the patient population as you propose.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Laszlo. And I think this is going to be the last one we will be able to address. Which costs of a clinical study are covered by an EC grant, RIA? Are there any restrictions, cost categories, total amount, co-funding by other sponsors?
Monica, you know that this is not the target of this template. So, yeah, cost, we do not collect any cost information in the clinical study template. So unfortunately, you need to dig into guidance documents and information, perhaps in the grant agreement template and other sources of information, because in the template, we do not address the cost elements at all.
Excellent. It's also good to answer things that are off the grid, but then point people to the fact that the annotated grant agreement indicates all the eligible costs. I think, unfortunately, it's already 11:31, and we need to pass over to the other session. We thank you all very much. Again, keep asking questions via the participant portal. We will try to respond to them. Again, make a good use of this template, this wonderful object. You really, really will enjoy it. It's gonna help you to structure and present a better research, and very good luck to you for when applying for Horizon Europe.
Many thanks to Monica and Laszlo. It has been really, really informative. As Monica and Laszlo said, you had many questions, and we will try to answer your questions as quickly as possible, either via Slido, or if we need to do a little bit more investigative work via the FAQs. So please keep checking Slido and the FAQs, the frequently asked questions, for any further information about your questions. And I would really like to thank you very much for your questions. The second part of the session deals with gender. And as you've seen, gender equality plans are a major novelty for the work program 2022. So I'm very, very pleased that we have with us Ms. Anne Pépin, who is going to give you a short overview about what we mean with gender plans, and also she is available for any of your questions. So Anne, I see you're here, and I hand over to you. Many, many thanks.
Thank you very much, Henriette. So I will try to share my screen right now. Very happy to be here. So what I will give you here is really, so are you seeing this? Maybe I need to put this in presentation mode if it agrees to. Okay, Henriette, can you confirm that everybody sees these slides? Yeah. Hello?
Yes. We can do the presentation. Just move around the toolbar so that we can see the full presentation.
You mean this?
Yes. So if you go on the right, click on more and hide the floating meeting controls.
Sorry, please. More, and I type optimize for video clip. Yes. Does this work?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like it does. Okay, so what I'll be presenting now is not the full presentation on all gender equality provisions and requirements in Horizon Europe. This is an update with respect to the webinar that you were invited to watch that was on cross-cutting issues in Horizon Europe in general, and where there was an extended presentation on the different levels of gender equality related requirements in Horizon Europe. I'll just go quickly through these 3 core levels with some updates. So regarding the new eligibility criterion that has been introduced in the new framework program on having a gender equality plan in place that fulfills a set for process-related mandatory requirement. This applies to public bodies, research organizations, and higher education establishments from member states and associated countries, so not from third country non-associated, as of course with deadlines next year in 2022. What is new is on our policy webpage. If you go there and you even have the direct QR code there to connect, there's regularly updates on resources relating to this. We published a fact sheet that summarizes these mandatory requirements as well as the recommended thematic areas that organizations should take into account or encouraged to take into account in their gender equality plan. There's an FAQ on the Funding and Tenders portal. And in an effort to support really organizations, especially from member state and associated countries where there's a higher number of organizations that do not yet have a gender equality plan, we have set up a pilot European knowledge and support facility on institutional change through gender equality plans, and released in particular on a month ago, exactly, a detailed guidance on the JEP eligibility criterion, giving concrete examples taken from our funded projects and from member states and organizations across Europe on the different requirements that we ask in this gender equality plan eligibility criterion. So you will find a lot of material if you do not yet have a JEP, or if you want to further develop it, good practice examples in that guidance. We also offer trainings to the countries where there are a higher number of organizations without JEPs. This has started for Bulgarian organization. This year, there will be a next one for Greece, for Hungary, for Croatia, and more will come in 2022. And we are also organizing mutual learning workshops between organizations more advanced, actually universities more advanced and less advanced within the framework of the European Universities Alliances. So there's a package of support activity. There's also more on the gender equality in academia and research tool, the GEAR tool that we produce with the European Institute for Gender Equality. This is being updated. The link is provided in the webinar. So there will be increasingly more information there. And for the integration of the gender dimension into research and innovation content, which was just mentioned by the previous speaker and in a question, as is clear now, that's mandatory by default. That's an award criterion under the excellence criterion. The methodology, the extent to which you need to detail is really how relevant this is for your project. If you think it's not relevant, you need to prove it to justify that it is not relevant to your specific project. You have a set of support material in the Gendered Innovation to Expert report that is already presented in the webinar. There are specific methods for health and biomedical research, even on analyzing sex in lab animal research or sex and gender in health-related research. So there are concrete examples, methodologies to do that, and also case studies on prescription drugs, on chronic pain, and on systems biology. And you have even more so on a related website. We also put some guidance additional in the Horizon Europe program guide. You have the link there. And for the third level of gender equality related aspects in Horizon Europe, so this is gender balance among researchers in proposals. This is a ranking criterion for proposals with the same score. And one thing that we also are offering to researchers is to self-declare their gender along 3 categories, so women, men, and non-binary, in an effort to be even more inclusive. And this is visible in the researchers table, which I posted here. We do expect, and the first figures show that the amount of researchers that are self-declaring as non-binary is below 1%. So this is just to clarify, we open the possibility to self-declare, but it's not taken into the calculation for the ranking criterion, which remains focused on women and men. And I'll stop here, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions you may have.
So, Anne, many thanks for this succinct and very practical presentation. This is new for all of us, so we are all learning about how to do this, but it's also very critical for the success, especially for health research, where gender is really critical to how we do research and what would be the potential results and impacts of our research. So we're going to do this Q&A session together. I'm really happy to do this together with you. So I'm going to read out for you some very short, sharp questions, and I hope that you can also give succinct answers. And I'm sure that many of the answers may also be found in the excellent materials that you have prepared. So maybe we start from the top. Will affiliated entities also have to comply with the gender equality plan eligibility requirement?
Yes, they will. They are in the grant agreement and they have to comply as well.
Excellent. Will it be an issue if you're still preparing the gender equality plan while submitting when submitting the proposal?
When you submit the proposal, there is no issue, but in the online questionnaire, you should not tick yes if you do not yet have a gender equality plan. You can come back to this legal data and change the fact that your organization has a gender equality plan once you do have it. And if your proposal is selected, it's at the grant agreement preparation that this will be checked. So there's still some tolerance between the proposal submission and the actual grant agreement preparation. The fact that you don't have a gender equality plan is not something that the expert evaluators will be looking into at the evaluation of the proposal. It's really when you are selected and being funded that it should be there.
Excellent. So we're moving very quickly. The ranking criterion of the researcher table, is it higher rank to have more women or equality between men and women? Maybe it's a little bit cryptic, but I think you understand what.
Yes, I understand. The target is gender balance. So we are trying to target 50%.
Excellent. Then I see a question, gender can only be indicated for researchers, but there are far more people in a consortium.
Indeed, that's a decision that was made for Horizon Europe to focus on researchers, and that's in line with a political priority to increase the participation of women among researchers.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So I see that we also get many questions about the types of participants. I read on your slide that gender equality plans are really for public organizations. So there's the question, is it expected that future SMEs will also have to contribute to the plan?
It is under discussion. Yes, it is possible in the next strategic plan. This is still being discussed and should be in synergy with what the European Innovation Council is developing as activities, which are indeed promoting very strongly the participation of women.
But Anne, I think I hope I can read into the applicants, into the poser's question mind. Maybe he or she is asking: is it expected that if you now have a SME in your consortium now for this call?
No, once you sign the agreement, that's when conditions apply. So it's not in the future. going back to the legal entities in your, it's once this will be decided, it will start in the calls for the deadlines and projects submitted to topics after the announcement. So it will not come back to already selected and funded projects.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm just looking at my colleagues who are keeping track which questions we have already answered. Yeah. Maybe we can take one or two final questions, being mindful of the time. So I see the top question now is: can you explain more how the gender aspect is going into the assessment? You said it's a ranking criteria for proposals with equal scores. Somewhere else.
Okay, I said there are 3 levels.
Yeah.
Eligibility criterion for public bodies, universities, other performing organization, research funding organizations. So so this is eligibility criterion. If you don't have that, you cannot participate in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to integrate the gender dimension, so sex and gender analysis into the content. This is a methodological excellence criterion for research and innovation actions and co-funds. And then for all topics, the gender balance within the researchers that are named in the proposal in the researchers table is a ranking criterion, but it comes after 2 others, which are how much of the topic equally ranked proposal cover, which covers a bit more, then the scores on excellence and impact, and it's reversed for innovation action, and then the gender balance comes into play, and after there's geographical diversity. So this is where the gender balance comes in. But of course, when you sign your grant agreement, you commit to striving to promote gender equality and equal opportunities in your actions. So, and this should be in line with the gender equality plan that you have at institutional level. So there's a global effort to promote gender equality.
Excellent. So we take, I'm looking at the timekeepers here, the team here. Maybe we can do the last 2 questions very quickly in a
yes,
because, but they are important because
I'm reading them so I can go quickly. So
yeah,
third countries that are not associated to Horizon Europe, no, we are not requesting for them to have a gender equality place. Mm-hmm. And SMEs, so private for profit, not yet, nor NGO, civil society organization, no. Will the JEP need to be presented at this? You don't need to present your JEP. You are self-declaring that you have a JEP, and in the course of the program, there will be compliance checks to make sure that what you declare is the truth. That's it. But we will check that you do say that you have a JEP at the grant agreement preparation. And I think I answered the last one as well. Private non-profit. So that's not a public, if it's a research organization, it is covered. Private or public, if it qualifies for the research organization, which is not only for Horizon Europe, it's for all European programs, they need to have a JEP. So if you are private, not for profit, but you are a research organization, you need to have a JEP. Will the JEP need to be presented? No, that's, is the JEP only for organization involving researchers or also different kind of public bodies? Yes, all public bodies, museums, regional authorities, yes, it's all organizations that fall under the public body category for European programs.
Excellent. Well, Anne, I see still some questions coming in, but I'm also mindful of the time. I would like to thank all the participants for asking these questions. I would like to thank you, Anne, for so factually and and also pragmatically answering these questions. You mentioned that there are many resources and courses and presentations and workshops available for anyone who is now preparing the jabs. So I'm very excited about this. It's a new feature. We are all learning. Now, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you very much, and good luck to all the applicants.
Excellent. So I'm going to say a few final words to wrap up this morning's session. I would like to highlight the work of a very important network, and that is the network of national contact points. National contact points are organizations that are based in your country that really speak literally your language, that know about your background, and also that are very approachable. They have a lot of experience in framework programs, and they know very practical solutions to any of your questions. So I would like to especially encourage newcomers. We have 20% of you indicate that you've never participated in the program. I'd like to encourage you to contact your national contact points, and I think many of them will be here today as well, and they will be more than happy and available to answer your questions. You can also, if you have any further questions after today, please send them through our research inquiry service for general questions on Horizon Europe. And again, we will make sure that there's a very quick turnaround for your answers, because we all know that the deadlines are coming soon. There's also the frequently asked questions section on the funder and tender portal. What we try to do is to be as transparent and as open as possible. Many of the questions that you ask us, we will publish anonymously on the frequently asked questions section, so that everyone shares knowledge about the questions, any open issues that you still may have. All the presentations are available on our InfoDay website, and I would like to say then goodbye. I would like to thank you so much. I've seen that many new participants have since joined us, also from the USA and from all the other continents. So many thanks for joining us. We're going to start at 12 o'clock. Prompt. I'm just looking at the timekeepers here at 12 o'clock prompt with Destination 1, and we're going to take you through the work program destination by destination. So I hope that you are already preparing your slided questions for the topics in Destination 1. So see you in about 7 minutes, and thank you very much, and thank you to the team here for supporting us here. Thank you very much. See you.